Welcome. I'm Chris Jones, and this is Spiritual Hot Sauce. Today, I'm joined by Micah Voraritskul, who is the author of Human is the New Vinyl. So when I heard about this and I dug into it, I got excited because this is right in my wheelhouse. So first of all, Micah, welcome to the sauce.
Hi, thanks, Chris. And you nailed my name. That was beautiful. You said it perfectly.
I tried, and I'm
Yeah,
glad I
thanks,
got
man.
there. That might be the only
Thanks.
time that happens, but
That's all
at
right.
least I did it once, right?
Hey, it happened once, right?
Yeah.
Right. Great.
So,
Thanks so much for having me.
no, thank you for coming on. So, your book deals with AI and creativity, and I think across a lot of all the mediums. But I'm a musician, former
hmm
professional musician, and this speaks to me of where we're at. So, and when I think about this, I think about the development of us and humanity and
hmm
our language, but
hmm
our first written phonetic words was the Kesh Temple hymn, and it was music and singing and community to God. It was very spiritual. And I
hmm
can't help but feel and think that it played a huge part in our development and how we ended up where we're at now.
hmm
So it concerns me that we're giving AI so much of the steering wheel that it may be not just a background noise that we hear as we go about our life, which is kind of
hmm
what we turn it into, that it might be much more than that, and that AI might be impacting our direction, our path, and ultimately us as we go into this. So in your book, Human is the New Vinyl, you describe vinyl's inconvenient crackling, its presence demanding, as the reason it made a comeback. And I think in 2024, it was like $1.4 billion in sales in just
hmm
vinyl. But you had mentioned that that's because digital music was way too perfect and frictionless, and there was something missing. Open that up for me.
Yeah. Well, before I hit that question, to your note on the Phoenicians, the Phoenicians, the book is about human innovation, really. It's not just about AI. It's about the fact that we as humans are constantly innovating. We're always trying to make things, and as I say, we always try to make things better, cheaper, and faster.
Yeah.
Better, truly better. Cheaper, meaning less expensive to produce, not cheaper
Yeah.
sounding, whatever, but just easier, more efficient, and then faster. And so even the Phoenicians, the Phoenicians were the first to come up with this idea that you could represent words with sounds. And
Mm.
that's why we got the Phoenician alphabet. And and before that, all of language was, written language was just symbols. It was symbolic. And pretty soon they said, no, we should attach marks and diacritical marks and stuff like that to actual sounds. Then the language can go anywhere, right? It doesn't matter what the idea is. It's just the word, right? It's the sound of the language is tied to the word form of it. And so that was a huge, huge innovation of human writing. So I thought that's really cool that you brought that up.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that the first thing that they wrote was a hymn or a song. That's
Pretty
really
amazing,
cool.
ain't it?
That's really cool. I just learned something today.
Yeah, and after that, the next thing was a transference of wisdom and knowledge.
Correct.
So,
Correct. Yep.
yeah.
So, and I do talk a little bit about, the history of writing because AI is hitting writing too. But to your question about music, yeah, vinyl records were the way that humans got music for many years. And the history of recording sounds and being able to play them back is not really that old. I mean, we've only been able to do that since the late 1800s.
That's true.
And so it's a relatively new human innovation to be able to record, and vinyl was one of the first and one of the most enduring ways to record sound and play it back and to distribute it, right? So what was really interesting is that vinyl was the gold standard for human sound, and in 1982, Michael Jackson's Thriller sold 78 million copies in
It's
2
unbelievable.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and vinyl was Vinyl sold there were 1 billion units of vinyl sold in 1982. And then something crazy happened. People digitized music, and it was available on CDs. And then we had Napster, and we had MP3s and M4As and all the other AIFFs files floating around on the internet. And vinyl started taking a major hit because humans also like things that are portable.
Hmm.
So we like to take our stuff where we go, and vinyl is not portable. It's it doesn't go in your car. You can't take it to the beach. You
That's
don't take
right.
it on vacation with you. So in some ways, radio and cassettes were next, because you could do radio and cassettes in your car. When CDs came in, people were able to play them in their cars, take boom boxes to the beach, whatever. And everything became ultra portable. Then Steve Jobs in 2007 said, you can have your entire music library, every song
Mm.
you've ever owned, in your pocket. And that was really maybe looking like the death blow for vinyl, right? Like, nobody who wants vinyl. It's inconvenient, it's heavy, it's expensive, it's brittle, it cracks, it warps in the sun. You can't take it with you. If you dance too loud to the music, if you dance too hard to the music, the record skips.
Yeah.
So you've got this needle nestled in these tiny microgrooves. You can only fit 22 minutes of music on a side, right? So
Yeah.
you have to flip it over after 22 minutes to get the next 5 songs. So, in some ways, like, yeah, why would anybody want vinyl, right? I mean, if you've got digital and it's portable and it sounds just as good, maybe even some people would say even better, because it doesn't have the dust and scratches and crackles. Um, why? So one of the questions that we ask is, why did vinyl make a comeback? Why did you say, you said that it sold how many?
1.4 billion in
Yeah,
2024 in vinyl
right.
sales.
At its lowest point 20 years ago, in 2004, it only sold like 500,000 units worldwide.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is in dollars, but I just know that's units. So that's a billion. That's a 9.5 9,500,000 unit free fall from 1982 to 2004.
Do you
And now
think
it's
that,
climbed back up.
yeah, do you think some of that is pushback from us, that because it's become so monetized and it's become 3 minutes and 12 seconds of the fast food version of, music, what corporately can be put together and make it even more profitable, finding out that formula for us and us saying, no, we want that experience? Because you bring up a valuable point. I listened to an interview with Dave Grohl, and he had talked about his daughters had got a hold of his old Beatles albums and was sitting in a room with an old turntable, and he realized they were having the experience he had had as a child, as a kid, going
That's
through
so
the Beatles,
cool.
looking at the album art, looking at the footnotes, and having that experience that demanded their full attention. So it hit them different. No longer was it a background sound, as like you say, as your day at the beach. It's just there. It was paying attention to it and focusing it. So do you think this vinyl resurgence is looking for something that we're missing in our experience?
Yeah, absolutely. You've hit the nail right on the head. And Dave Grohl's daughters, I mean, he's experiencing something that all of us who have children are now experiencing, and that's that our kids love vinyl. And
Mm.
you got to ask, why is that? Why, if it's less convenient, less portable, and doesn't sound as good in terms of studio perfection, why would we want that? And it's because of the experience. It's because you've got something to hold in your hands. There's weight, there's gravity. It's because you have to set the needle down in the groove. It's the dust and the scratches and the analog sound that give it
Yeah.
its beauty, right? That's why it's making a comeback, because I think people are sick of slick, instant, and needlecraft is coming back, for crying out
Yeah.
loud. People are
Yeah.
they're taking pictures in photo booths again. They're doing things with their hands that require you to be present, aware, and fully immersed in the moment. And that's precisely what vinyl gives you, that
Yeah.
that an MP3 can't give you.
Do you think we've devalued music to the point that we've lost its importance in our culture?
I don't know. That's a tricky question to ask, because if you look at what's happening in the music market, it would seem so. But I look at this vinyl resurgence and things like it. People going to see the fact that 2025 was the largest earning year of live music in the history of our planet.
Yeah.
And so
I didn't
people
know
are
that.
they're going to hear live music again. They're not okay to just listen to their Spotify track in their
Yeah.
bathroom as they're getting ready. They want to go see and experience. And so vinyls come back. The fact that people are seeing live music again, the fact that people are saying, gross, I don't want a song by AI on my playlist.
Yeah.
Those are hopeful signs to me that
Yeah.
the
Agree.
world is pushing back against it.
There's something about community in there that you mentioned. When you put the AirPods in and you're in the bathroom and you're getting ready, or you're just doing something and it becomes the background noise. I'd seen a movie one time, or a show, where it was representing, like, long ago, how music would have been experienced. And there was no, like you said, format to get it. It was always coming together
Right.
in community. Someone would have an instrument and everybody would just jump in and sing together. And it was this
Yeah.
experience of community expression of us. And it seems like that isolated experience in your AirPods alone, we're losing the community part of that. We're
Yeah,
losing
that's
us.
huge. Yes.
Yeah.
That's a huge part of it. And, part of this was this idea of, I think it's a Western idea of just of hyper individualism, this idea that, hey, I want my own personal playlist. I want it to be catered to
Mm,
me. I want to experience it in my own little, I want noise isolating AirPods or earpods.
yeah.
I don't want to hear anything outside. I want to it's just me and the music. And I do think we're missing a huge part of the community in which great music gets made. Great
Yeah.
music gets
I
made in
agree.
conversation with humans. It gets made best when you're playing live with a group of musicians.
Hmm.
The cleanest tracks are the tracks where you have the guitarist come into the studio, record, lay down his piece, and then you have the guitarist come in and, he's in a different room or in the same room, but at a different time,
Hmm.
laying down his track. And then you mix it and master it in the studio and it comes out very, very clean. But why do people always love to buy live tracks, right?
Yeah.
Why is it so much more magical to hear the live track of like a U2 song or a Pink Floyd song,
Yep.
When you hear it, you're like, holy crap, there's like energy there. They're playing together on the stage. There's people listening to it and responding to it in real time. I
Yeah.
want to hear that.
Yeah, there's something about that when we come together and they're the right people. That's like, and I know this gets weird, but supposed to be doing that, that they somehow kind of tap into the collective consciousness of humanity. And there's an
Yeah.
expression of us that comes out in that when we come
Yeah,
together and we create this art, this thing of expression of ourselves, the spiritual, or something spiritual about that.
it is. Yeah, humans are the only animals that make music for entertainment and for
Hmm.
joy. So, I mean, lots of animals sing, like birds sing, but they haven't figured out that birds are singing just for fun, right? Or that they are somehow that I guess it could be argued that birds sing for fun, but I think most scientists would say that birds sing to communicate something specific,
Yeah.
their location, whether they want to mate, whether there's food, whatever. Dolphins and whales, they make sonic sounds. All animals communicate in different ways, but humans are the only ones of the only species of animal on the planet that make music for enjoyment.
Yeah.
And I think that's a significant thing that sets us apart from other living things, is that we make music, we like to enjoy it, and we like to do it in community. And that's one of the
Yeah.
coolest parts about
Well,
being a human.
yeah, there's something about music, the way we do it, is we are
Yeah.
able to express in a very short amount of time an emotional experience that somebody's had that you
Yeah.
can't do with words. That just it take way too many words, and you can have an idea of that experience. But to be able to share this emotion that someone had as they're going through heartbreak, or they're going through love, or they're going through this experience, that you can share it in music and community, and that simultaneously a large group of us can have a similar expression of the same thing at one time in a short amount of time. So
Yeah.
there's something about that that's intrinsically built into us that I think we need. And it reminds me of something that you said in your book, that it's invention, saturation, and the human pushback.
Mhm.
So do you think that's a part of it? Is that maybe this, and just so I understand, but as we invent this new way to make music and we saturate the market with it, the humans are beginning to push back because they are missing that piece of it. Because, I mean, truthfully, isn't AI's music just statistical culmination of our backlog of music, of what we have? It's just, it can't, I don't think it can create anything. It can just kind of regurgitate people's greatest hits of what we've already done. There can't be anything new. So it just finds the sonic math, puts it together of the algorithm, then presents it to us. But there's something about that that seems synthetic. It doesn't seem real.
Yeah, absolutely. I think some AI developers would push back on that and say AI can take what it's learned and iterate it into something new. I don't know that I agree that it can do that, and I don't know that I even care. But certainly it has been trained on the corpus of human music that has been made to date, right? And
Hmm.
it is what it puts out right now is a statistical regurgitation of what it has learned.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's going to be able to move past that and create things that are novel, um, that actually move humans, I think that's yet to be determined, and I think its value is yet to be understood because I don't I don't if an algorithm makes an incredible song and it sounds great, that's one thing. But an algorithm has not been heartbroken. It hasn't lost a child. It
Yeah.
hasn't gotten rejected by its love. It hasn't experienced anything. I mean, I doubt that an algorithm will be able to make a song that makes me feel like I feel when I listen to Friday I'm in Love by The Cure. When
Yeah.
I listen to that song, my heart goes to places that I can't even express in words. When I listen to Cigarette by The Smithereens,
Yeah.
my heart has a longing in it that it cannot be expressed in any word. It goes so deep. So you're absolutely right. And I don't know. I don't know that an algorithm is ever going to really be able to do that. Maybe it will, but I don't know.
Well, I think you're hitting on a point, though. You're talking about, the Beatles, Prince, Michael Jackson. Now you got Taylor Swift. These aren't just new sounds. These are the voice of the emergent generation. This is
Yeah.
us, and this gives direction. And even when corporate business tries to force and make it easier for them to be able to sell us music, these breakout stars still happen. They still come about because they are so important, because humanity chooses them, because there's something about them, of what they bring in the expression of us in that generation, that changes our direction or gives us a voice that we don't have. I don't think an algorithm can do that. And if an algorithm could do that, it becomes dangerous, because now who's in control of the algorithm? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Now you
absolutely.
have, yeah, now you could have a political ideology, you could have a religion, you could have a certain thought where that becomes compromised and it's programmed into the algorithm, and they truly could change the course of us. Even if they think it's for the better, maybe it's to our end. Who knows what all comes out of that? What's
Yeah.
your thoughts on that?
I mean, as you were talking, my mind goes to the fact that humans making music is such an organic thing. Um, the need for the criers of our cultures who we call musicians, well, they can't not make music.
That's
They
right.
have to make music because it's built into how they're wired, how they're
Yeah.
created. And so what you're finding with some of these breakout people that you've mentioned, Beatles, Michael Jackson, Prince, Taylor Swift now, and Billie Eilish, and folks like that.
Yeah.
These are people who they are tours de force of creation, of human creation. And I love that Taylor Swift bought all her song music back from the corporation. It's like, no,
Yeah.
human musicians since music got monetized, have been pushing back against the people trying to sell the music the most, because the people trying to sell the music are saying, we want you to write what sells. And the musicians are saying, I want to write what I want to write. I want to
Yeah.
write my experience, even if it
Yeah.
doesn't sell. So that's always been a tension. And so
Frank Zappa had said that, and I always remembered this. He said, if the corporate world had taken over, like back in the early 60s when I made it, he said it was just guys that didn't understand the music and they just watched what the kids chose. And then whoever the
Right.
kids chose, they got the record deal. He says now
Right.
it's the kids grew up and they're wearing ties and they think they know what the kids want to hear. And now you have this corporate takeover, hijacking of almost something that was supposed to remain organic, to your point.
Yeah, that's very, very true. But I think as long as humans continue to make music, and some will emerge to be, successful in the market, that's great. There are also millions of other musicians making amazing music who no one's ever heard of, and that's okay. That's
Yeah.
great. That's a part of the human experience. Some of us rise to fame and some of us never do, and that's okay. But I think the heart of it is that the heart of the issue that we're having with AI now is that what I call the differentiation problem, and it's maybe one of the most important parts of the book, and that is that we are no longer able to reliably distinguish between what a human has made and what AI has made. And so I can definitely give you very specific examples of this from visual arts. In fact, one of my colleagues is a guy named Jeremy Coward. He's a portrait photographer in Nashville. I mean, he's done the Kardashians and Taylor Swift and the Obamas, and
Oh, wow.
so he's a big deal. And he wrote an email in 2023, which was part of why I founded my movement, Verified Human, was in response to this email. He said, my friend brought me 10 pictures, and he said 5 of these are real portraits, and 5 of these are AI generated pictures of people that don't exist. Can you tell the difference? And in his email, this is 3 years ago, he said, my blood ran cold because I could not distinguish the difference. I'm like, if
Wow.
Jeremy Cowart can't tell the difference between an AI portrait and a real human portrait as the most reliable human portrait photographer in the world, who's done humanitarian work for the United Nations.
Right.
I mean, this guy, if he can't tell, then who can tell? That same year, Boris Eldegson, who's another colleague of mine, and he's a German artist, he won the Sony World Photography Contest using an AI generated image. He generated it in DALL-E. It was called The Electrician. So you've got experts who are trained to tell the difference between something a human has made and something that AI has generated, and they can't tell even when they're trying.
Wow.
Even when they're paid to know the difference. And when they can't, that brings a question up of, what do you do with that?
Yeah.
What do you do when you have 2 things and you're like, these are both great songs, and unless you tell me who made them, I don't know if a human made it or if AI made it.
Yeah.
That becomes a problem. That becomes a problem. And that's the same problem we're having with deepfakes and videos and films and everything else.
I think about what you're saying with financial incentive artists. I mean, we're creating a beach of sand, and now you have this little grain of sand, and we're devaluing monetized money where there's no money in it, because somebody for $29 a month can, create all the music they want that's indistinguishable between the top 40, and they can list themselves as an artist. What's the incentive for the real artist? I mean, if we're talking back like we were these cutting edge musicians that changed everything, where would have been the incentive for them? Or like Taylor Swift, had she have been around in this generation, to buy her own catalog back? What catalog? There's no real value there because we've devalued everything. Where's the incentive for the artist?
Yeah, absolutely. That is the big question. In a world that can't tell the difference between something that AI makes and something that a human makes,
Yeah.
where does the value lie? If you can't tell the difference, and if you say the song that was written by this AI that is a regurgitation of all the other music that's ever been out there, created by an algorithm that has never lived a moment of life, of actual human life, but it makes a song that moves me.
Yeah.
That's scary. And what does that mean for the people that are real humans making music? And that becomes the question, because
We could lose organic music and it just totally becomes a synthetic experience of what whoever wants you to experience.
yeah, so people have to be able to, this is why I founded Verified Human and wrote the book, because people have to be able to say, this is what I made. I'm a human being. I made this for you, my audience.
Mm,
I'm not telling you it's better than what AI makes. I'm not telling you it's better than what anybody else makes.
yeah.
I'm just telling you that it was made by me and I'm a human. And if you're looking for something made by a human, here's where you find it.
Hmm.
It's like fair trade. Fair trade sells coffee, right? And
Yeah.
all kinds of other stuff. But if you go to Whole Foods or Fresh Market or wherever, and you buy fair trade coffee, you're paying a little bit more for it
Yeah.
because it's got that fair trade label on it. And what that label says to the consumer is, we're auditing the supply chain so the guy that grew the beans isn't getting screwed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm willing to pay 50 cents more for a pound of coffee because I want to look out for the little guy, and I want to know that there's somebody auditing the supply chain.
Yeah.
And so what fair trade is saying is, if you want to know that the guy that grew the beans is getting compensated, buy this coffee. What they're not saying is that this coffee tastes better than the other coffee.
Right.
They're simply saying, if you want to know that this is what you're getting, this is where you find it. This is a label that tells you
Right.
we're the people who help the farmers get compensated fairly.
Yeah.
So what Verified Human does, and we're trying to help musicians be able to say, look, I'm not saying that my song is better than anybody else's, and I'm not saying that my song is better than AI. I'm just telling you, for those of you that, for the 5% of you out there who still care about listening to a song made by a human, I'm putting this label on it so you can find it. So you can find me. I'm a verified human artist. I've signed this standard that says this is how I work with AI. This is how I will not work and use this label. So if you see this label, you can trust that I made it for you, my audience.
It seems
And
like
I'm
that's the only way we're going to be able to keep our Beatles and our Michael Jacksons and our Princes and our new Taylor Swifts and our Billie Eilishes when they come out, is something has to go in to play like this, what you're talking about. Who polices that? I mean, who monitors that to make sure that the integrity is there?
Yeah, that's the hard question, because you're right that is the only way. The only way that artists have moving forward is to be able to say, I'm creating this for my audience and I expect you to trust me. Because right now there is no way to verify that, right? So
Yeah.
you have to go back to human trust. The value of human trust. Do I trust this artist? Do I take them at their word?
Yeah.
I'm in a group called the C2PA. That's the Coalition for Content Provenance Authority, and I'm in meetings several times a week, every week, with people at Sony, the BBC, Warner Brothers, Apple. I mean, there are people from all over the industry here, and they're trying to make this digital signature. Basically, it's like an encrypted digital signature that goes inside of media files. So anything that's a digital file can have some kind of a traceable provenance, right? So you can look at it and say, this is who made it, this is how it was made, and this is where it came from. And it's hard work, man. And I don't know that solution, like, I'm in there in good faith because I believe we got to be working on this from the technological side. But
Somebody has to fight for it. Yeah.
right. But I don't truly believe that C2PA is going to be the answer, because I think that AI is moving so fast that I think that once they find the digital provenance solution, I think it's going to be irrelevant to the market. I think people are just going to be like, I can't validate all this with my browser and try and figure out like what's what. I just need a quick visual signal to know, do I trust Taylor Swift when she puts the verified human label on her work? Do I trust that she's actually taking it at her word, hasn't used AI in these ways? And that's the best way I figured out. I hope a better model comes along. I just don't know.
Yeah. I think about this and I think of how much it costs to produce AI music versus a real artist having to pay for the studio time, having to pay for the musicians to come in, everything, the engineering, the mastering, all of that, that goes into that versus AI just creating it. That there's really nothing in the AI. Once you have the initial investment, it's just basically, again, it's synthetic music, so there's no real value attached to it. So it's like you said, you're going to have to be willing to pay more to get organic music versus this synthetic, experience that's not really from us, that it's from
Yeah,
something else. So, and you're right, this is important, and I don't know how you do that. And is it the people that produce this AI music that's trying to push it as their own, are they able to get royalties from this as like it's their own
absolutely.
music? Man,
Absolutely. I mean, right
that's
now
not
on
that's not
Spotify,
even fair. That's crazy.
yeah, they're saying now, I don't even know what the last report was, but I know the CEO of Instagram said that 40% of Instagram posts were now either AI generated or heavily, heavily influenced by AI
Wow.
design tools. I know that Spotify themselves, I think, did a really bad look for them was that they introduced millions of AI generated tracks onto people's playlists without
Oh my
notifying them.
gosh.
So most of them were like ambient or electronica and stuff like that, where people aren't scrutinizing every little thing. They're just like, oh, that's got a sweet, trap beat. I like it. But it still was bad faith. And so, but the playlists are flooded with AI generated music, and people who are making AI music are making all kinds of money on royalties because they're doing it in mass. I,
Unbelievable.
I could produce 100 songs for you in one day,
And all of
and
them be
every single one of them
extraordinarily good. Yeah.
you would listen to them and go, that rocks.
Yeah.
And I could stick them all on Spotify, and you know, if it took off, I could make thousands of dollars a month just doing that, right? Just
Wow.
in people adding them to their playlist and giving them a listen. So
But ultimately,
absolutely.
isn't this going to push down? I mean, if you're able to produce, because it's a commodity, if you're able to push the value of the music down where somebody can produce, like I was saying, all of these grains of sand on the beach now, where
Uh-huh.
they're estimating that in 1 year it's going to be more than triple already what's being coming out, of what's being produced, that it's going to kind of swallow up the organic music. But because it is so cheap, now you have these people that can say, you know what, we're not going to pay the same royalties we did because it's not fair. And now you start pulling down again, yet again, kind of Napster 2.0, devaluing, what's been produced. And it seems to be pushing out the real artists where they can't afford to make music because there's not enough money there to be made to make a living.
Absolutely. I think this is the crux of why I started Verified Humans, because I'm like, I got to do something for the artists, man. I got to do
Mm,
something that nobody's doing, and nobody's successfully been able to crack
right,
this nut.
right.
And so it's not perfect, but it's something. But you're right. I mean, we're going to see this get worse before it gets better, Chris. That's the bad news.
Yeah.
And you're going to see more than 50% of written titles being AI generated books. You're going to see more than 50% of music that hits every platform being AI generated music. We're going to see more than half of already it's 70% of social media feeds are heavily influenced by AI generation.
Hmm.
And that's not gotcha people saying that. That's the CEOs of these companies
Wow.
saying
That's
that.
what they know about. Yeah.
That's what they know. They're saying, hey, 70% of the stuff you see on LinkedIn now has been AI generated, or somebody
Wow.
using AI just to write their article for them. So I think people and people's sniffers aren't that discerning. You know, if you don't really dig deeply into, hey, I want to try and figure out if this
Mhm.
person really has something to say, or if it's just an AI generated headline, is there any
Yeah.
substance to this article?
Right.
Um, then it's just going to get its clicks and likes, and it's going to move on down the chain of the feed, right? So
Yeah.
it all the content is so disposable. It comes and goes so quickly now. You're right. There is this moment, and back to our first question of why is everybody starting to kind of hit the brakes and say, whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah.
I want to know that what I'm listening to, reading, has been made by a person and isn't a part of this slop cannon society of AI.
Yeah. Yeah. And, we're people of faith. And
Yeah.
how we most of us experience God in our spiritual worship of expression and awe and wonder of God is through music. Now, if
Hmm.
you're getting AI variation of that, there's something about that seems just the integrity of that's just way missing the mark of what we should be doing. It's like, really? So AI is kind of creating how we go to God with song and connection? That
Yeah.
just seems wrong, That seems terrifying to me.
Yeah. So the two podcasts that I have been on, one of them was one that you mentioned, your friends, Pastor and Philosopher Walk Into a Bar, and then another
Yeah,
one that I was on called Rethinking Faith. We talked about the spiritual import of this moment.
yeah,
And, if you're of the Jewish, Muslim, or Christian faith, whether you're Protestant or Catholic, doesn't matter. You have this Abrahamic tradition, right? And
mhm,
got this story, this narrative about a God, an all-powerful, benevolent being. And the way that the universe comes to being is that this God speaks. This God uses words.
yeah,
And so that speech becomes a creative event, right? Speech has creative power. And I mean, this God's first job for human beings was, I want you to put a name on every living thing. In other
mhm,
words, give it a name, classify it, use words to show what it is and what it isn't, and where it fits into the hierarchy of all the things, right? And so you've got this idea that words have creative power and that words have significant power. And when you say that these large language models are dealing with human words and they're able to do these incredible computations by using natural human language,
yeah,
then you're saying we are ostensibly outsourcing creation to a non-living entity.
yeah,
And because it has the ability to put words and music and notes together and things that make art and things that make human expression, and it's coming from a non-living thing.
The whole
And
idea
so, yeah.
is that we could spend less time working so we could create.
Right.
Somehow we're working harder and letting AI do our creating for us. It's like we got
I
it backwards.
know. Totally.
Yeah,
It's
and
totally
and
true.
and it's exactly what you're saying. This is important stuff. It goes back to the Kesh Temple hymn, that it was impactful in how we developed in our language and our culture and community and spiritually. I think we've sent spirituality down the road with music. We've devalued both, and hopefully we start to realize that they're both very important, and they and changing those has heavy repercussions for us.
Yeah,
And I think we are, and I think you're doing good work because somebody needs to hit the brakes and say, whoa, I know that this isn't in the forefront of what we're looking at right now, but we need to, because this has
absolutely.
great impact of us. We're talking about us here.
Yeah, when we take the conversation here, we're not just talking about songs and market, right? We're
That's
talking
right.
about the
This ain't
human
business anymore.
experience,
Yeah.
right? This is about what it fundamentally means to be a human being and what AI is taking from us, um, as a tool that is supposed to be a tool of convenience and assistance. It is starting to take our place as in the role of creator, and
The
that's really
source.
dangerous. That's
Yeah.
really dangerous. And so, um, I'm a part of a group called AI and Faith, and the reason I like this group is because I am a Judeo-Christian in my perspective, but it's a pluralistic group. So we've got people from all faith traditions across the globe in here. And every faith tradition is asking the same question, and that is, what is AI taking from us
Mm.
in our humanity? And and that's an important question, and that's really a question I'm more concerned about than how many songs is AI selling instead of Taylor
Yeah.
Swift.
Yeah.
Um, I I am more concerned with AI robbing human dignity and ability and creative license. I'm more concerned about that than I am about the models taking over and ending humanity. Maybe that's backwards, but I I can't control the second part of the narrative. Is
Yeah.
AI going to get so powerful that it takes over and shuts down the grid? I don't know. Maybe it will. More powerful people, it's above my pay grade, right?
Yeah.
What is not above my pay grade is fighting for every writer, every songwriter, every gig musician, every studio musician that I can fight for and saying, tell the world your work is made by you and why it matters. It's
Hmm.
important that you do that.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to do for writers and visual artists and content creators and voice actors and musicians alike.
Yeah. And I think what you just said, we, the consumer, we have to do better than what we did with piracy and like Napster. That we have to all say, well, it's no big deal. It's just one little song. Well, it is a big deal because
Yeah,
now we've hopefully we've learned from the whole Napster thing and what happened and how we've robbed distribution and it's robbed us of creativity and the artists that
yeah,
are able to make a living doing that, that we all are responsible for this. This isn't pointing the finger to somebody else. This is me. I have to do better. And it's
hmm,
like you were brought up about fair trade. I have to be willing to pay more and limit what I listen to and only consume organic music or art. Of
absolutely.
you know? So
Yeah, you
I
have to. Consumers have to demand. The consumer and there, the one of the question marks. Well, people under the age of 40 don't care where their music comes from. They'll just if it's got a good beat and you can dance to it,
yeah,
it's fine. But for conscientious consumers, they need to be more conscientious than ever. They need to become market mavens and say, hell no, I'm not listening to a song. I'm not even going to give it the time of day
right.
that was written by a bot. I don't
Yeah.
want a song about human experience written by something that has no human experience.
Yeah.
I demand that my music that I listen to was made by a human and I can confirm it in some way. And
Mm,
and and I'm going to look for and I'm going to value, I'm going to pay more for human created music and human created art and human created writing.
yeah. There's something about because man, music changes your emotions even if it's in the background. It impacts
Yeah,
you. I mean, and it changes how you think because it changes your direction and how you react to situations. And
totally.
we've gotten so comfortable with this background music that's kind of become our music as we go through life, like you were talking about. And when you start to have a music that's created and giving you this synthetic emotion, it just seems like we're going to come off track somehow. We're going to be the ones to pay the price down the road of whatever that looks like. If it's
Yeah.
malicious or just organically, that's just how it goes, that it is important that we do this. So, what can we do now? I mean, like you're saying, verified human, I think this is critical. This is important, and we all need to be pointing to verified human that we all want that in place. How do we make that happen?
Yeah, that's a great question, Chris. I mean, there's no easy answer to this. I think awareness is one of the biggest things with any movement of significance. It's like, how do we get more people aware that this is a problem? What we've talked about today it's not an elevator conversation. These are so there's no quick easy way to explain this to someone, right? They have to be thinking about it, and we have to have real conversations around the table about what it means to consume media of any kind, whether it's music, which is the thing that we're most concerned with here today.
Mhm.
Um, but if you have the conversation about music and you make more people aware of your stance, you're saying, "Hey, look, I want human music. I want human music in the tradition of human beings, not in the tradition of computers or, or AI." And let's talk about what that looks like for us. How, as consumers, do we change our behavior to match our values? And
Yeah.
I think that conversation needs to take place. And I don't think most people are even thinking about it as carefully as you have. And so I
Yeah.
think just getting the awareness out and saying, hey, think about this a little bit more. When someone says that 50% of the tracks on Spotify are created by an algorithm, that should concern you, and you should do something about that
Yeah.
on your own personal playlist.
Yeah. That's right. That's like whatever you do for a living. If AI comes in and destroys that, it's gone. You don't have
Yeah,
that anymore. And if you do the same thing with creativity, then humanity, we always think selfishly of just ourselves, but no, this is humanity loses its creativity. We don't have it anymore because we gave it to the algorithm. I
right.
think we have to protect us through this.
Yeah, and I think if if musicians will think more like educators, and educators are always slow on the uptake. I'm an educator by training, so I can say that. Um, but right now, the big crisis in education is that AI is creating dumber human beings
Yeah.
that write better papers.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
the
We're
problem
losing
is
our
that they're
critical thinking. Yeah.
correct. So you're saying, so what the educational institution globally is very slow to now realize is AI is robbing us of our ability to create human beings that can think critically. Duh. They
Yeah.
write incredible papers that get A's, but they didn't write the paper and they didn't think
Right.
through the issues that made the paper have substance. So you're creating people who know how to write a prompt. You're creating musicians that know how to write a prompt, but they don't know how to write a song. And
Yeah.
there's a big difference. So we have to start saying, what is AI forcing humans to trade away for convenience?
Yeah.
And where are we going to push back against that? Now it's like, no, educators are saying no. It's crazy, but they're like, no, I want to see your entire creative process for how you came up with this paper topic. I want to see every draft of your paper. I want to ask why
Yeah.
you made these changes. If you used AI, how did you use AI? Where did you use AI? Where did it show up? Show me every step
Show
of the
me your
creative
work.
process so that I
Yeah.
can see how you got here. And I feel like the same can be true for any human created medium, whether it's a paper or a song. It's
Yeah.
like, hey, show me how you made this song.
Yeah.
And for Verified Human, we ask musicians just simple questions. It's not like gotcha questions. It's like, hey, this song is great. Where did you use any AI in the creation of this song? Where did you get this? You have 42 tracks in this mix. Like,
Yeah.
did any of these come from did they come from AI generated loops? We just like to know, just so you know, and so your
Yeah.
audience knows.
So you know what you're
And
buying.
correct, yeah. So I
You know,
think that's it.
I remember Taylor Swift. They came out with Apple did this. They came out with a thing with new artists when they came out with something they didn't want to pay. They didn't want to pay for it. They said, when your first album, when you're first coming out, we shouldn't have to pay royalties. We are giving you platform. And thank God for Taylor Swift. She came out and told Apple, if you do that, I'm going to take my whole catalog off of Apple. You do the right thing and you pay them or I'm gone. And so Apple blinked and said, okay, and they went
Yep.
back and paid these new artists. Maybe it's going to have to be a Taylor Swift and all the other artists to come together and they say, either you take care of this or we're going elsewhere. Maybe that it has to be something like that. I don't know. Something has to happen.
Yeah, I think, and that's where every musician has a voice. And I think,
Yeah.
musicians saying, hey, I'm gonna, like, if you're a musician, an amateur musician, you haven't broken through, which is 99% of musicians,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
If you haven't broken through and made a lot of money with your music, you taking your music off of a platform isn't going to get anyone's attention.
Right.
But 5,000 of you taking your music off of a platform will get their attention.
Mm.
And your influence on Taylor Swift and the people who do have a voice in the industry, your influence on them is real. They will listen to 5,000 musicians who say, Taylor Swift, this is what we care about. Do you care about us? We know you do because
Yeah.
you were once just like us. You just broke
right.
out. You broke through. But we're here, we're struggling, and we want you to be our advocate. And I think people in industries need to lean on industry leaders to advocate for them. You're a big
Yeah.
name. Advocate for the little guys. Do you
Yeah.
care about us? We're here buying your music, supporting you, loving what you do. We're your biggest cheerleaders. We are celebrating your success. And now we need your help.
Yeah. We need some ethical people out there trying to do what's right. Mm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Micah, this has been an amazing conversation. You've brought up some things that I hadn't thought about, and I appreciate you sharing. And
Thanks
Human
so
is
much
the
for
New
having me.
Vinyl is a book that everybody should go buy and start reading. And Verified Human, I think this is important. But what's the last thing that you will leave everybody with? What's the last bit of information and encouragement that you would give people?
I love that. Um, so this is crazy, but I wrote this thing that I just love that. Well, first of all, if anybody wants to find verified human, if you just Google verified human, you can do it one word together or two words. It'll come up there, or if you put it in any crazy AI search, it should come up for you, verified human. And if you want to check out my book, there's links there to the books. I'm not trying to sell books. I'm trying to have a conversation that I care about. But
Yeah.
the thing I would leave you with is that human beings follow intuition over computation. And we move as human beings in rhythms, not algorithms.
Hmm. I like that. That's nice. And if somebody wants to get in touch with you, how would they reach out? Do you have an email address or something that people can reach out?
Yes, it's Micah, Micah, at verifiedhuman.info.
Awesome. We will put these links in the episode itself. Micah, thank you so much for sharing your time and your depth and your wisdom. We appreciate it.
Thanks for
And
having me, Chris. It's been
yeah,
such a joy to have this conversation with you, and I hope we have more.
absolutely. We'll get you back on the show. So I'll be in touch soon. So thank you, Micah. And
All right.
we'll get together in the future.